Man, the Star Wars saga is back on top of the film world with a new movie, new characters, new everything. It's great. But you know what this series could really use? A prequel movie about one of its most beloved characters. Nothing could go wrong, right? There's been a lot of talk lately about the list of potential actors to play a young Han Solo in the upcoming Star Wars anthology film about Han Solo being narrowed down. And while I'm a little bit intrigued about that, I'm pretty confident that in the end they'll make a solid choice and whoever they pick will end up working out just fine. What I'm more concerned about though is the actual story they're going to tell. I feel like there's a particular challenge in telling a prequel story. And that's a challenge that when it comes to Star Wars, they've sort of failed on 3 times now. There's a lot of people that feel that such a film shouldn't even be made, and a lot of them feel very strongly about that, and I completely understand. Why revisit a character whose tale has already been told and was told in such epic manner? At the end of the day, the reason for it all is money, because even if Disney royally screws this up, they're still probably looking at several hundreds of millions of dollars made by a new Star Wars movie. But if they knock it out of the park, then you're back in the range of billions with a B, and that's what I'm hoping Disney can pull off. But it's not going to happen if they make some of the mistakes that we saw in the prequel trilogies already. So with that said, here's a couple things that I consider some do's and don'ts of a Han Solo prequel film. Do show Han Solo's genuine good side, because I think he has a natural desire to do good, he's just been damaged along the way. When we first meet Han Solo, yes, he's all about himself. He's selfish, and he's just looking for the next payday. But even by the end of the original Star Wars film, after he gets his payday, he comes back to help his new friend Luke and the Rebel Alliance. Then moving forward to Empire Strikes Back, even when he's about to leave the rebellion to repay some old debts, risks his life to go out into the freezing cold to save his friend yet again. Han is naturally good, he was just damaged at some point along during that story. Given that overall, over the course of 4 films, Han is shown to be much more of a team player than a selfish individual, I want to see what caused him to stray from that for that little while to get to the point where he was when we first meet him in Mos Eisley. And I think if done right, that can be really compelling, not unlike a way where if you had made Anakin Skywalker a character that people really cared about, it would have hurt you to see him damaged come episode 4, and if they can pull that off with Han Solo, and I think it is doable, that would be step 1 to making a fantastic backstory. Second thing to do is to show us what influenced Han's feelings toward the Force. When we see him traveling to Alderaan with Obi-Wan and Luke, he has a general pretentious attitude toward all of it, as if he knows who the Jedi were, or at least allegedly were, he knows about lightsabers, but he just doesn't buy into it all, and I think this offers sort of a unique chance to look into the lives of smugglers and kind of the whole seedy underbelly of that side of the galaxy in general, and how they all view the Jedi, especially in the wake of their demise. It makes you wonder that if to all them the Jedi were maybe some big joke, but I think it would be interesting to see what happened to Han along the way that made him such an adamant non-believer. First thing to don't do is to cram in too many characters from the original trilogy who don't need to be there. I have stated multiple times that I believe one of the biggest downfalls of the prequel films is that they tried so hard to tie in everything from the original trilogy and connect every character somehow to somebody from the original trilogy. It felt forced and it felt awkward, and it doesn't need to be a mistake that's repeated. Characters like Jabba the Hutt, Greedo, and even Lando Calrissian and Chewbacca don't necessarily need to play a part in this timeline of a Han Solo origin story, but rather there could be so much intrigue in seeing what happened with Han Solo's life that eventually led him to characters like Chewbacca and like Lando Calrissian. I know that in a franchise of movies, you want your story to center around characters that people are already familiar with, but if you look at the success already of the new characters from The Force Awakens, it shows that they can very viably introduce new characters and have people care about them just that much. They don't necessarily have to cross over to other films, but if we get characters in a small dosage that see how they influenced Han Solo into becoming the Han Solo that we know and love, that's still good storytelling. Second thing not to do is to allow the writers to feel burdened by the expectation of Han Solo. Obviously, with one of the more beloved characters in film history, there's going to be some expectations, but it's important to not just write a younger version of the character that we already knew, especially when that character has evolved so much over the 4 films that he's appeared in. Given that evolution, I think it's perfectly viable to think that a younger, more inexperienced, and more raw version of this character could be vastly different at that time from who he was when we eventually meet Han in the cantina on Mos Eisley, especially when you consider that who Han was in the cantina ends up being a pretty drastically different person than who he has already evolved to in Return of the Jedi. In other words, don't try to just write a younger version of the preconceived notion of what Han Solo is. Write a young, intriguing character that could believably evolve into what we eventually know Han Solo to be. Now, I will say that late in the process of writing and recording this video, I stumbled across this quote from Lawrence Kasdan, who's writing the script for the Han Solo movie, that was pretty encouraging to me, and I'll just read it to you real quick. It just says, "He's younger in this movie, and that's fun because you have to imagine him 10 years earlier in his early 20s. What was he like before he hardened up, before he had some setbacks, before he put on this cynical coat? What got him there?" That alone gets me pretty encouraged moving forward. Anyway, that's just a few quick thoughts I feel a little bit strongly about in regards to the Han Solo anthology film, but if you have any thoughts of your own, please tell me about them in the comments below. Things you want to see in the movie, things you don't want to see in the movie. If there's a particular actor among the list of finalists that you think should definitely play the role, state your case for them in the comments. You know I'm going to be down there with you. I love talking some Star Wars in the comments. And as always, if you like the video, please click that like button. If you want more Star Wars videos, because there's going to be more Star Wars videos, click subscribe. And as always, everybody, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you. Hey everybody, thanks again for checking out this video. If you want a little bit more Star Wars stuff from me, check out the annotation link on the right for my top 5 worst changes made to the Star Wars special editions. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. And again, everyone, thanks so much for watching.